Jon, you exited 4 years. You took MHI from 3 million to 17 million.
Yes, sir.
And a 58.7% close rate. And I just got to say this, TAMKO does not verify these numbers. That being said, I get to say these things. I'm sure on the other side, there's things that you're like, this went really well, and things that you wish that you did different. And I know with so many roofing companies being sought after by private equity, some to become a platform, others to join their strategy, small groups, big groups, and everything in between. If you could go back in time, what would you do differently this go around that you didn't on the first one?
Man, that's a tough question. It's a good question. There's not a whole lot that I think I would do differently, because I think we did a really good job at establishing the right culture, the right hiring techniques and things. The only thing I might have done differently is done it sooner. You know, like my partner Ty was a phenomenal guy. I'd worked at a place called Shield Roofing, and we scaled it to almost 30 million too before I left there as a managing partner. And then when I went to MHI, I went over there and invested in and had some fun. I think that's the only regret I would have, is just not doing it sooner with with a really good partner.
When you say sooner, like what part do you wish you did sooner? Like the actual exit or preparing for it?
No, like getting to MHI sooner. Like,
Got it.
Yeah. I wish I would have been, with my business partner Ty a couple more years ahead of that. I think that we could have had a lot more fun too, though.
Yeah.
I mean, we had a lot of fun. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But, that's the only thing I would say that I wish that we could have done a little bit sooner. At least me personally. Inside the business, I would say, there was because we already had the playbooks, we already knew how to execute. We already had a great team to start with. Like, it was the first time I'd walked into a roofing company, like, I don't have to fire everybody to get started. You know what I mean? Like, like some other places are like, hey, like this is a hot mess.
Yeah.
The two places prior were hot messes when you walk in, and there's a lot of restructure. So we had a really good base foundation, and the first thing that we really did was strip it down too. We were doing a bunch of hardy siding and a bunch of vinyl siding and those types of things. And we came up with a new concept of dollars per day, right? How much actual net profit can you make per day per crew?
Yeah.
And when we stripped it down that way, it's like, sure, we're selling these $100,000 hardy jobs, but it's taken us 46 days to get them done. You know what I mean? And then if you get one board that needs to be painted, like you wait another 3 weeks because they don't want to let you paint it. And so we're making like $200-300 a day on hardy jobs profit, which roofs you're making $2,000 a day.
Yeah.
And then when we got over to the repairs and rejuvenation side, we were then making $3,000 to $4,000 a day.
Yeah.
Net profit. And so we stripped it down and looked at it that way. And that was like the first thing that we did. So I think that we could have done that a little sooner, but we did that within 6 months of being there.
Yeah.
So
some people refer to their dollars per day as sales velocity. And you can take a look at, and I don't have the equation in the top of my head right now. For those that have tuned in, they'll know that I'm not great at math. I got a reference guide, but you can look at your deal flow, the number of leads, timeline to the sale closing, to production, to cash received, and then you can run a calculation to find out deal velocity. How much are we making on a daily basis? So were you looking at deal velocity from a sales pipeline health, or were you analyzing dollars per day as a benchmark for each trade?
Yeah, that's a great question. So it was per trade, but we started at the end and worked our way back. So we started at the customer and worked our way back. So how many jobs can we actually produce? Most guys start on the other end, right? And they say,
how many jobs can I sell?
How many jobs can I sell? So we started on how many can I produce, and when I produce those jobs, what are the net profits on those jobs? And so we found our capacity on the back end first, and then worked your way backwards to the velocity of sales. It worked in my mind, it works better because I know what I can actually go sell in revenue, what I need to recruit as far as crews go, repair techs, whatever it is you're building out. Like, we started with the end in mind. Like, what is the customer experience first? How do we get to that point? What is the actual, revenue that we can generate backwards based on the production rate?
Yeah. I really like what you had mentioned on scaling capacity backwards. And I think many roofing companies will be like, I'm starting here and I want to get here. And then as they're progressing, they're building to catch up. Right. Versus you started and reverse engineered the plan. This is what our capacity is. Let's scale the systems from the top back down. Would that be like an accurate representation?
Yeah,
that's kind of that mindset shift.
Yeah, the mindset was, let's start with the end in mind and work your way backwards. Because that's why I always say that revenue is a vanity stat.
It's complete vanity.
It's a vanity stat.
Yeah.
So I can go sell $20 million, but if I can only install $6 million, then guess what I just did? I just made a lot of people mad and my brand takes a big hit. And I can't pay a bunch of sales reps, and now I'm to blame because I can't get the production done. So that's why I say that revenue, like, or the revenue vanity stat, like the actual like earned revenue and like the actual produced revenue is what really matters. So let's look at the P&L sheet. What can we actually put that goes through the bank account? So so that's where that we broke it down that way of like, hey, here's what siding looks like. Here's what doing soffit fascia gutters looks like. Here's what windows looks like. At least right now at that time, the capacity that we had was not to be able to take on all those trades and make money. So so we wanted to get like roofing centric and be kind of a niche in it and just say, so we roof repairs. Then we added in soffit and gutters later because it was kind of top of the roof and up. But we literally just stuck in the roofing space. So when we say that we went from 3 to 17, that was all roofing. Yeah. With some soffit fascia and gutters.
I want to dive into that. There's two things that I want to get back to, and this is one of them. You scaled back in so many, and by the way, when I was in the business, I was in a similar role as you. I was COO of a company, and I remember we had our best year ever followed by our worst year ever. And I know some people call it like storm hangover.
Right.
And we were always a bit of a hybrid company. And of course, when storms come, you take advantage. And then when they don't, you're like, oh crap, we got to figure out this, pushing more retail sales. And I remember we got so distracted, and I was to blame. I'm leading this. I'm like, we're going to white label a window line and do windows, and then we're going to do siding. And then I can't even believe I'm going to say it out loud. We started looking at geothermal heat pumps, right? And then you excavate people's yards, right? And anyway, as you go through that, so many people think in order to grow, it means more people, more locations, more service offerings. Can you give me your philosophy on like what led you to the conclusion of, and I wrote down less but better, which is kind of this mantra that's been in my head, but how did you get to that conclusion that roofs were the way as opposed to trying to do it all?
Well, it comes down to, one, what are you good at, right? Yeah. So what do you know how to master now? But you can't serve two masters.
Right.
So, and when the process and the sales processes are slightly different, I now have two masters. I have two things I have to, control. So windows to siding to roofing, the process is a little bit different in each of the sales processes.
Yeah, they are.
Right. And the timelines and the design you have to do, it's like going from doing bathrooms and going to doing kitchens, right? Yeah. Similar. There's still boxes. You still screw them to the wall. You still put a countertop on it. You still put a sink in it. Yeah. But it's a totally different way of getting there. And so that was our concept of it. It was like, hey, how do we make this as streamlined as possible to straight line revenue? So like, we just wanted a straight line approach. Like I didn't want a whole lot of exit ramps on this roadmap. We literally just wanted to go straight down and say, hey, we do roofing. And like, let's be known for what it is that we do. Roofing everything, whether, hey, if you got a repair, we do repairs. Right. If you don't need a new roof, we help you with that too, with a rejuvenation or something. Hey, when you need the roof, we're here to do the new roof. So we wanted to keep as narrow focus as what we could on at least the one trade. Of course, we had multiple products within the trade, but the sales process was exactly the same. It didn't matter, what the product was. If we were bringing in a high-end metal versus, an asphalt product, the sales process was still the same. And so we were able, and the production process was still pretty much the same, because you would sell it, you hand it over, the production team would still order the materials. You might have some special order stuff, but it was way better than what we've experienced on the siding and the window side. I'm not against the siding and windows. I think you have some great companies that can do that. Our expertise, because when we looked inside the company, we didn't have that expertise ready to go.
Sure.
So sure, we could have scaled it to a certain point and then went and hired that person in that knew how to run the siding division. But I think then you separate the sales team out too, because I think it's a different process.
It's a totally different process, and it's so tough. So many roofing company owners, and it's not just roofing companies. I had the same level of distraction because us entrepreneurs, we have the shiny object syndrome. We want to change things. We want to fix things. We always want to be improving. And oftentimes without a filter of what to fix, we end up fixing things that don't need fixing.